How to automatically generate an invoice on Xero using Jotform. On this tutorial, I'm going to show you how. So follow me to my desktop right now. Welcome to Jotform. My name is George, and today I'm going to show you how to automatically generate an invoice on Xero with the form submission. That way you can use your form as an order form. You can use it for public use, where the user actually generates an invoice when they select the products that they want to order, or if you want to use this as an internal form where you generate invoices automatically on Xero. That way you can set the amount, the product, the discount, the coupons, and all inside of Jotform without having to go every single time into Xero. So it's really useful to generate invoices really quickly. So let's get started with this tutorial. The first thing that we want to do is generate that order form. So let's get started by creating a form. Let's start from scratch, classic form. And we're going to build this with simple elements. So let's add the form elements. We're gonna ask for the full name, and we're gonna ask some short text, drop down, and we're gonna use this, for example, for the amount. The next one, we are going to use it for discount. In this case, we're gonna use this as an internal form, but again, you can use this for public use if you want them to order something. For this one, we're gonna use it as the products. And we're gonna say something really simple like pants, shorts. Okay, so they're able to generate the invoice by selecting the amount, the discount, and the product. We can also set the price inside of here if we'd like, and let's actually add it here. So let's drag it to the top, well, after the product. There we go, and we'll set the price. Now, if you were to use this for public use, you wouldn't have the field for discount or the price. We would just have the amount and products, just to give you an example. And the last thing that we want to add is the email address. So let's drag it to the bottom, and let's make this a little bit more compact. So in advanced options, we're going to shrink. We're also going to shrink this one. And again, let's shrink this so we don't have a form that's too long. Okay, so that looks a little bit more nicer. Let's rename our form. So we're gonna name this order form and also order form. Okay, so what do we have to do next? For this automation, we are going to use Zapier. That's going to be our bridge to connect from Jotform to Xero, okay? So let's go into Zapier. We're gonna go and create a Zap. There we go. And the first thing that we have to do on Zapier is select the trigger. For this case, the trigger is going to be Jotform. So that means that when any time that the Jotform is submitted, it's gonna react as a trigger. It's gonna receive that data. And then Zapier is gonna take care of it and send it over to Xero, okay? Let's just rename this really quickly. So order form for Jotform, okay? That way we can find it and look at it really quickly. So the trigger, let's select Jotform, let's select it, and we are going to select it upon a new submission. That's going to be the trigger. Let's continue, and we're going to choose the Jotform account. In this case, I have already connected my Jotform account. If you haven't connected, go into connect a new account. What it's going to ask you is to log in and obviously approve Zapier to connect with Jotform and read that data. So let's go ahead and select the account I have. Continue, and now I have to select the form, obviously the one that we've just built, which is this one, the latest one, order form. Okay, let's continue. Let's test the trigger. Okay, and now it received sample data. So this data was brought as a sample. So we know that these fields respond to the order form, submit, the name, the amount, the discount, the product, the price, and the email. Okay, so it's just sample data. Obviously, this data is going to be updated every single time that we fill out that form, every single time it's been submitted. So let's click on continue. Okay, and now Zapier is asking for the action. So the trigger is the submission. Now, what action do you want to take? So now what we want to do is create a path. Why do we have to create a path? Because we added 2 products to that order form. So let's add the path. There we go. We have path A and path B. So we're gonna use one of these paths for example, shorts, and the other one for pants. And if we had other products, we'll add a path to it. Now, it might become a little bit long or complex the more products we have, but remember, this will only take setup one time. Once you're done setting this up, it's gonna be done automatically, okay? So let's start off with path A, okay? There we go, let's continue. And path A is gonna ask what has to happen to continue, okay? So in this case, we want to grab from our fields the product, okay? So in this case, field products, remember we added 2 of these products. So in this case, if the text contains, for example, pants, we want it to continue. In this case, it's not going to continue. You can see right here, your path would not have continued because it doesn't say pants. But don't worry, once we actually run the test and use it and we select pants, it will continue to this path, okay? So we're good to go. Let's close it. Let's go into the action. And now the action is gonna be 0, okay? Let's search for the event that we want to use. Now you can create contacts, update them. You can create a bill, create payments, credit notes, bank transfer, a lot of things that you could do with this. But in this case, we want to create an invoice. So let's choose invoice. So we want to create sales invoice. Continue, sign into Xero. Okay, let's allow access. I'm already logged into Xero. If you are not logged in, it will ask you to log in. So let's continue. So the organization. So depending on the amount of organizations that you have on Xero, it will appear right here. So in this case, there's only one organization, so I will select it. Okay, contact name. These variables that we are going to use are from our job form submission. That way, every time that it's updated, it will add the updated variable. So in this case, it's asking for the contact name. We are going to grab it from the field name. The email address, let's grab it from the fields that we have. Find that email, here it is, field email. The status for this. Now, this is going to depend how you want to use your invoice creation. So if you want to generate the invoice as a draft, then you can do so. And you would have to go into Xero and manually approve it so it updates, okay? Or we can use submit for approval. So send it to the workflow on Xero that you have already pre-built, or approved. Now, like I mentioned before, you can use this for public use or for internal use. If we want to use it for public use, you might want to use draft. So they'll generate the order once they fill out the form and you go manually approve it. Or in this case, since we are going to use it for internal use, for example, we'll just set it as approved because we're good to go. Now it's asking for the date. We can use the date from Jotform, or we could just say today, and it'll grab today's date every single time that the form is submitted. For the due date, this is the due date for the amount that they have to pay on the invoice. Again, we can use variables like say 2 weeks, and it'll automatically, Zapier will automatically detect it and add 2 weeks from the form submission, okay? The currency, let's go ahead and select it. In this case, there's only one currency. If your currency on Xero is different, you will find it there. URL, we don't need to add anything. We don't need to add attachments, but you can add file uploads on your form and add the attachment there. Branding theme, in this case, we'll use the standard one. If you have more branding themes, again, it will appear here. The number, this is the number for the invoice. If we leave it blank, it's going to use the invoice numbers from Xero. So what does that mean? If the invoice number right now is 102, the next invoice that it generates is going to be 103, and then 104, 105, so on and so forth, and it's just going to continue. If we auto add the number here, it's gonna add it, it's gonna replace the automation number from Xero, okay? If we want to add a reference, so additional reference number, so in this case, we can use the sample sub ID. So for example, the ID is the form ID down here. We can use that as a reference. So each time this is going to be dynamic, and we know that it's going to be tied to that submission. Okay, send to contact. So we're going to say true. Line items type. So in this case, we have items generated. The items are available for, we'll say, we'll keep this blank. The item code, these codes have to be generated during this automation or before, okay? So the item code are codes that we have built already. So in this case, I already have these codes. Let me show you where you generate these codes on Xero. So this is my Xero dashboard, and you are gonna click on businesses, products and service. Here we go. And this is where we're going to generate those codes, okay? If we want to generate a new item, we'll click on new item, and we can generate a random code that we want to use. For example, we'll name this just test, and we can add the cost price. Again, remember we added that field from the form submission, so we can set the manual amount if we want. So we can keep this blank if we like, or set a price right now. Purchase amount, if we want to set the purchase amount, the tax rate, the description, and sell. Let's go ahead and save it. And we have added it. So if you refresh over here on the item code, we'll see that new one that we've just added. You can see there, test. Okay, so remember that we added the variable for this. Let's go up here, the path. The rules for this, we use this for pants, okay? So this is gonna be, the path is gonna be tied to pants, okay? So that's why we created a path. In the next path is gonna be for shorts, for example. So the item code is for pants. The description for this, we'll leave it blank because we're gonna use the description from our code that we've just created. If you want to add a field for that on Jotform, you can do so and replace this. The quantity is gonna be set from the form submission. So in this case, we have to select the amount field. Here it is, the amount, there we go. The unit price, we're gonna select the price field. Go ahead and find that. Here it is, the price. And the discount, we'll select that field. Here it is, discount. Remember, again, like I mentioned before, if this is a form, the order form that we want to use for internal use because we want to generate really quickly our invoices, then we add these. But if we want to manually add the discount, we can remove this and say, you know what, for pants, we're just going to use the 10%. Okay. And this is not going to be dynamic. It's not going to be variable. It's always going to be 10%. But if we want to manually type it in, because you know what, sometimes we have special clients, so we want to manually add that. So we'll do it there. Okay. The account, there we go. We want to add this to our sales account. You can add it to different accounts if you like. We won't add tax rate for this, but you can also add that there. Tracking, we don't need tracking for this. Let's go ahead and click and continue. There we go. Now, this is not going to work as it is right now because we haven't added the variable. So we didn't set the amount, we didn't set the discount, but it generated an invoice based on that information. Okay, so let's go check this out. This should be a test that we've just created. Let's go into business, invoices, and there should be an invoice for John Doe. Here it is. The reference number was tied to that form ID and it just generated it, okay? So there we go. That is the end for path A. Let's close this. Let's go close it. Now we are going to work with path B. So again, with path B, we're gonna use the filter, but now it's gonna be for shorts, okay? So the products, this one is going to contains, we're gonna say pants. Okay, so if it contains pants, it's going to continue. There we go. In this case, it's not going to continue because the sample data doesn't say pants. Action, again for Xero. Action event, we're gonna create an invoice. Create a sales invoice, continue. Choose the account. I'm going to go through this quickly because it's going to be almost the same data except for pants. The organization, the contact name, the email address. There we go. The status for this, going to be approved. The date, we said is today. 2 weeks. Currency, USD. No URL, no attachment. The branding theme, standard. There we go. The number, we're going to keep it clean. Reference, we're going to add the ID, the form ID. Sent to contact, true. Line items, keep that there. item code. This one is for, sorry, this path B should be for shorts. There we go, shorts. Continue. There we go. Let's go back into the settings. So remember, this is the code for shorts. There we go. We added it. No descriptions. The quantity will be the amount field. The price would be with the price field selected. The discount will be the discount field. Add that there. There we go. And the account, we're going to tie it to sales. Okay, let's continue. Test. There we go. We're gonna turn on the Zap. Remember, if you don't turn on the Zap, it's not gonna start automatically. Okay, so there we go. So when a submission is completed, it's gonna start either path A or B, depending on the product that we select. Now, if we add more products, we would jump into adding product path C, path D, etc. So it generates the invoice for the particular product that we are using. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill out our form and test it out. So remember, these are the invoices that are generated right now. Let me refresh. There should be 2 of them. There we go. And we are going to generate 1 more with our submission. So this is our form. Let's open it up. And here we go. Now this is an order form for internal use. Like I mentioned before, because we have fields like discount and the price. So we are setting these manually. If this was a public form, we would not use these. Now, if you're using this for internal use, I might suggest that you add a password to the form, just in case someone has access to the link. So let's go ahead and fill this out. So I'm going to say, for example, Ken Dahl, the amount, he's gonna order 5, and he has a 10% discount, and he's gonna order 5 pants. And the price for this is going to be $50, and we'll add a test email at test.com. Let's go ahead and submit it. There we go. This has been submitted. Now let's go check this out. We should have an invoice created on Xero. There we go. Let's go ahead and refresh this. And here it is, the invoice 007, because that's the next invoice for the order number. The reference for that one, the 2, Ken Dahl. The date, today's date, the due date, 2 weeks from the date that it was generated. It's not paid. The due, $225, awaiting payment, and it's been sent. So all that has been done automatically from my Jotform. Now think about this. Instead of going into Xero Chat, generating a manual invoice, where we have to go into new invoice, log into the account, the 2, search for a user. If the user has not been added, well, we have to add it because it hasn't been added automatically. So in this case, I'll create a new user first. We'll add the due date manually. So I'll do this. The invoice number is already there. We'll add the reference from wherever you're grabbing this information from. So if it's Jotform, we'll do it manually. I'll have to add the item here. So for example, I'll say pants. It automatically adds description. We'll add 5 to this. The unit price, $50. Discount, 10. The account, keep it simple. There we go. And we'll add it as approved and other, or print. So I'll have to log into Xero, go into business, open invoice, and generate all this every single time manually, instead of doing it really quickly from an order form that I have ready. So I can have a virtual assistant with this order form ready to go, and he'll generate the invoices for me. I could just let him know without even giving him access to Xero. So he'll just have a link to this, and he'll generate the invoice from here. You can have him do draft invoices, and then you manually just approve them to make everything and the process more quicker. So it's just way more faster doing this than going into Xero and doing this manually. The only downside about this is that you have to do the setup. So on Zapier, we have to set this up, take some time to do it. But once it's good to go, everything is going to be done automatically from there on out. So really easy to build. Once you have this ready, you're good to go, and everything's just going to be a breeze to create invoices on Xero. And like I mentioned before, if you want to use this for public use, Just don't add those fields where they are crucial, right? Like the price, the discount, you keep that manually instead of having that on the form. But there you go. That is how you are going to automatically generate an invoice on Xero with your Jotform submission. We thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on our next tutorials.